Well, it just seems as if we're having problems connecting with the team, but I'm sure we'll be able to get to them in a short while. So stand by as
We are
we
hearing you, Ruskin. We are
begin
hearing you.
a big discussion here this evening. And of course, I'm sure Dr. Fergus, Shabaka, and of course, the special guests will be able to bring us all the information, especially as it pertains to Gregory Sloan Seal and what he has been observing as it pertains to our crime fighting efforts here in Trinidad. Success or failure, and whatever is the analysis. So we're looking forward to hearing that discussion. So let me again try to see if I could hook up with the group and say good evening once again to the panel. Indaba is on.
Ruskin, we are hearing you. Good evening, my brother. We are hearing you. And good evening to the listeners on 91.1 FM. Are you hearing us on
Very much so.
91.1? Russ,
Yes, we
you're
are. Very
hearing us?
loud and clear.
Okay, great. So good evening once more to the listeners on 91.1 FM. This is our very oldest constituency. And welcome to all those on Facebook and YouTube who are also taking us in live this evening. We have a very exciting program as usual. This is Indaba, the place where knowledge grows, a program of the emancipation support of Trinidad and Tobago. Welcome, my brother, Shabaka.
Greetings, Dr. Fergus. How's it going out there at the Caribbean Association of Historians meeting this week?
Well, I barely made it back. But it's an exciting conference. I just hope that they had a session on reparations. They didn't. I mentioned that to them, and hopefully next time they will ensure that there's such a session. I think we need to now make the history engage, this important moment, and not just have historians in ivory towers talking to us about academic matters. So while it's a great conference, I think we could have had a session on reparations. I would have been happier for that.
Yeah, let me ask, Doctor, I must ask you, was there, do the historians of the region have plans to continue decolonizing the curricula?
Well, not directly. There were some topics that could have been easily, tailored towards that kind of engagement. By the way, David Abdullah was there today. I saw him and he took in apparently the whole session today. I also saw our favorite ambassador, Sanchez. He was also there in the session today. Yeah, we had a great session.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, I see you keeping the topics close to your chest, though.
By the way, for those who are wondering what it is we're talking about, is the annual conference of the Association of Caribbean Historians. It's the 62nd annual conference. It's the oldest association and most continuous in terms of its annual meetings. Even during COVID, they would have gone online. So, that's the kind of dynamic we are talking about.
Excellent. Well, Doc, the other issue that we have to touch on tonight is the Iwa Africa, fashion show. I'm not sure if we're going to have, we have a representative of the committee coming to join us shortly to give us some.
I think Kadija is around. Kadija is here.
Let's welcome her.
Kadija, good evening and welcome. Kadija, you look wonderful. Yes.
Good evening, Dr. Fergus and Shabaka. Everyone. You're hearing me?
Yes, we are hearing you. So tell us what happened at the show. Tell us what's going to happen next week and some of the other events coming up.
Okay, so on Sunday we had Iwa Africa and it was amazing. Iwa Africa is becoming that must-attend event. And when you see the images coming out of it, you are immediately telling yourself, I cannot miss this next year. It was truly amazing from the time you entered, you're greeted by Wasafoli dancers and drummers. You enter into the foyer where you met 10 artisans that gave you that last piece of compliment your look, get a complimentary glass of wine from Grandison's Wine, and then you entered into the auditorium. And only as Richard Young can do, we transform an auditorium into an international catwalk. Everyone was amazed. It was really beautiful. We thank all designers for cascading on our runway, all the models that brought the pieces to life, everyone that contributed, to all the Queen's Hall staff, to Ricky Ragland, workmen, to Richard and his team, and to a bunch of volunteers, young volunteers from Bishop and Trinity East. I'm going to stick a pin there and I will come back to the young volunteers. The following Iwa Africa, for those of you who attended the launch of Emancipation and those of you who also have our kind of events, you will see that we have the launch has triggered events until August the 1st. So now on Friday, June 6th, we have the regional spoken word competition for primary schools that will take place at City Hall. And from this competition, we will take winners from the zones to the nationals, which takes place in September to November, November being African History Month. So we have 35 students from 12 schools that will compete for a spot in nationals. Following that, the next weekend, we have on the 14th of June, the Yoruba Drum Festival, another must-attend event that takes place in Port of Spain, the Yoruba Square, which is located opposite Besson Street Police Station, with a beautiful big monument, giving homage, paying tribute to the Yoruba village. Again, always a teaching moment. I urge persons to go and research the Yoruba tongue. Go and research the Yoruba, and you'll understand why we choose this community to do the drum festival. And we have again about 20 groups, majority of young people forming the groups, and again connecting to the Iwa Africa, now to the drum festival. And there's a lot of young people involved in this. A lot of young people involved in culture. So again, using culture to bridge that gap, using culture as a tool to help our young people to understand, accept who they are. After Drum Festival, Sunday, June 15th, we have the launch of the Kwame Ture Memorial Lecture Series with our featured guest speaker, Professor Gordon Lewis. He's going to speak on the colonizer, forgive me if any topic, but he's also a world scholar, Frantz Fanon, and this year is the 100th anniversary of Frantz Fanon. He is well known for writing Black Skin, White Mask, a really, really good book, and The Wretched of the Earth. And that happens on Sunday, June 15th. Yes, we know it's Father's Day, but June 15th at Napa UTT Hall number 1. And just going back a bit on for Yoruba Drum Festival, we also gave the Keeper of the Tradition Award, and this year we are giving it to Iya Yoka. She's the leader of the Igbe Umosha Shrine in Laventille. She's a member of the Emancipation Support Committee for a number of years. We thought it was fitting that we give her this award for her hard work and continuous work, in sharing and ensuring that the traditional African spiritual practices are passed on to the younger generation. And that's ESC update for today.
Okay, great. That's great.
Beautiful, Kadija. And listen, I mean, I'm excited. You know, and you were right on point there with Franz Fanon. This gentleman who's coming to speak about Fanon, and of course, you know, the 25th of July is his birthday, is the 100th anniversary of his birthday.
Yes.
This gentleman who's coming to speak, Dr. Fergus, are you familiar with him? This doctor,
Professor Gordon Lewis?
Professor Gordon, yes.
No, I'm familiar with Rupert Lewis, not Gordon Lewis.
Well, yeah, we're all familiar with Rupert. You know,
No, I know of Gordon Lewis, but I'm not familiar with him on a personal level.
Yeah, but certainly Frantz Fanon is one of the giants, luminaries of the Caribbean of the 20th century. He is, you know, I mean, one of the great standout thinkers of the Caribbean region. And for me, Wretched of the Earth is one of the greatest books ever written. And that book, of course, you know, the way it was written and so on is such an adventure in itself, because apparently he understood that he was dying. He knew that he had a short time to live. And he basically called a lady to his bedside and said, write down everything I tell you. And that book, you know, has stood the test of time. Fantastic sort of manifesto for independence. I don't know if you would want to, Dr. Fergus, how would you put it? You would agree with that statement?
Well, I think it's in a sense the ideology and philosophy of what's happening now, because of the way he conceptualized colonialism. I think it was one of the first theses on colonialism as violence in all its forms, and that the only way you can really confront colonialism successfully was through revolution. You see? So if we contextualize what is happening in the Sahel now, I'm sure that they are feeding off Fanon's work and Fanon's ideas as well. See?
Indeed. I mean, all these revolutions we heard about in recent times, Black Lives Matter movement, the Color Revolution, all these other uprisings all around the world, Fanon would have featured there. In Gaza right now, in the Palestinian struggle, Fanon's ideas are featuring. I mean, he is everywhere these days. You know, in the Black Lives Matter movement, I'm sure you would have heard the expression. Let me just quote him exactly here. There was a statement that was made where he said, we revolt simply because for many reasons we can no longer breathe. That was the statement that was so popular in the Black Lives Matter movement, along with another statement of his when he said that imperialism leaves behind germs of rot, which we must clinically detect and remove, not just from our minds, but from our lands as well. And so that those two statements really sort of encapsulate, you know, all the things that happened in the Black Lives Matter movement. So yes, we definitely have an interesting, very, very exciting start to our lecture series. And where are we going from here tonight, Kadija?
Our next event, June 14th, Yoruba Drum Festival, opposite Bessel Street Police Station. That's what they call Old St. Joseph Road. Again, calling everyone to come out. It's fantastic. You know, when you hear the drums, the rhythm, and you see so many of our young people beating the drum, becoming one with the drum, dancing, just using the stage, you know, just to express themselves is really, really beautiful. Really beautiful.
Indeed.
Do we have any drummers from outside TNT this year? As far as you're aware? Do we have any drummers from outside TNT this year in this year's festival?
We are working with a group to come for emancipation. So once that is confirmed, we will share that with you.
Okay, great. Okay. So thank you as usual for a great presentation.
Thank you.
And of course, we hope everyone comes out at the Yoruba Square to take in some fantastic drumming on the 14th, the Yoruba Drum Festival.
Yes. So, Dr. Fergus, right now we're segue into another segment. What's happening in the Sahel region turns out to be has created waves all across the African diaspora, all across the continent and the diaspora. Everybody's so excited. Everybody wants to know more. Of course, a couple of weeks ago, we did have a conversation with our sister Selena. She's here with us. Welcome, Selena. I understand that you did actually stuck to your word. You are in Burkina Faso right now. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
So there we go. So this is actually going to be the second interview with someone who is in Burkina Faso right now. But of course, the first one we were sort of forecasting what could happen. Since that first interview, so much has happened, so much excitement has been generated. And so we want to know, how are things going there with that revolution? Is that sense of optimism that people are sort of feeling all across the diaspora, is it justified based on your experience there and what you're seeing?
Yes, it is. It is. It is very much so. I haven't met the president, Captain Ibrahim Traore, yet, but I'm taking the necessary steps.
Trinidad. You are Trinidadian. It can happen.
Yes, it will happen. Here, the people they live comfortably. The place is hot, though. I must mention that the place is hot.
Mhm. Well, boy, Doc, I'm not hearing.
Yeah, I was hoping that we don't have any internet connectivity issue.
Selena, are you hearing us? Okay, so you're hearing us.
We're not hearing you. We lost you for a little while.
Doctor, you know what they say? Babylon works in mysterious ways. She can hear us, but we can't hear her. And of course, it says, while we try to resolve this matter, let's give it 1 second.
I thought we had Bongo on this evening. I thought I saw him a little earlier.
Oh, he's supposed to join us as well.
I think Bongo is supposed to join us.
Renee is advising, our technical person is advising that you leave and rejoin the session. We're going to hang in there and wait for you to come back. This is exciting that we have a Trinidadian in Burkina Faso right now reporting to us in terms of what is happening on the ground. So this is not speculation. This is not from one side of the Atlantic to the next. We have a Trinidadian sister who was here with us a couple of weeks ago in Port of Spain, reporting from the ground in Burkina Faso. Selena, Renee is asking that you leave the meeting and come right back in. And of course, she'll be waiting.
Okay, I will.
But you're coming. We're hearing you.
We just heard you. Wow.
She's already
left.
Yeah,
the problem probably just resolved itself.
So
yeah, but Shabaka, there was a really interesting gathering in Accra, capital of Ghana. There was a Pan-African solidarity gathering in Ghana on Africa Day. As far as they're concerned, Africa Day, 25th of May. You had Ghanaians, Burkinabe people. There was a large contingent of Burkinabe people there, Somalians, South Africans, Nigerians. So where people did not meet in any large numbers in their own country, apparently they headed for Ghana, or were probably, resident in Ghana, but there was a huge contingent on the streets of Ghana on the 25th of May, African Liberation Day for us.
Yes, indeed.
Bongo, so that's Bongo Greece, who was involved in the local organization. I spent a short while there because I had to be at the Pan-African Festival launch as well.
So, Doctor,
I did spend some time there. I looked for you, Shabaka. I guess you were there earlier.
Tell me your impression.
I guess you were there earlier.
Of the solidarity event.
So, were you there at Bayanara Square?
No, I
Okay,
was
let's bring in our guests. So, Selena, if you're here now, just tell us a little bit so that the audience and viewers would know who you are. Shabaka indicated you are a Trini, so just tell us a little bit about who you are and what you're doing in the land of revolution.
Well, my name is Selena, and I'm the International Relations Director for Mansions of Rastafari. I'm also associated with a few other groups there in Trinidad. And myself, Empress Joan and myself, we were the ones who did the first um, Captain Ibrahim Touring March on that was the 30th of April, and then it
Mm.
escalated into the 25th of May, which was an awesome event. I saw some of the footage of it on social media. Um, I was very, very proud of what happened there in Trinidad. Here in Burkina Faso, it's awesome. It really is awesome. Unfortunately, to this time, I've been here since the 25th. When it was happening in Trinidad, when the match was happening in Trinidad, I was coming from Ghana to Burkina Faso. I took a bus from Ghana, came across to Burkina Faso. The ride was extremely long. Um, Getting into Burkina Faso was fairly okay, but after you crossed the border, there was 6 security checks before I got to Ouagadougou. 6. You had to
Mm.
come off of the bus, present your ID, that kind of thing, get back on the bus. So by security check number 4, I really felt like I wanted to cry for real.
Oh
But
boy.
it was all good. Yeah, the people here, they are really welcoming. Now, I've been to a couple other places in Africa. I've been to Tanzania, spent 2 years in Tanzania. I've already spent
Oh, we lost you again a little bit. Yeah, we lost audio there. We are seeing you, but we have lost audio again a little bit.
That's so
Those
unfortunate.
checkpoints are, yeah, you're back?
yeah.
Oh,
Okay,
lovely.
yeah. So continue, right? We're hearing you again.
Okay, so my experience before in Africa is that because we are foreigners, now we're Africans, but some of them, they still consider us foreigners. When I say foreigners, they see the US dollar, the pounds, that kind of thing. But here in Burkina Faso,
Okay, we have lost you a little bit again. Well, you
Yes.
know now the challenge for some people leaving the rest of ECOWAS going to the Sahel states is that
yes,
those 3 countries are no longer part of ECOWAS. So that although you have easy access to the countries there, you do not have the right of access anymore that obtained under the ECOWAS Charter with freedom of movement. So that's one of the reasons, perhaps. And of course, they got to keep checking because of the infiltration that has been going on continuously. I'm
Yes.
accustomed to that kind of check, Selena. Sometimes in Nigeria, you are
yes.
seeing the checkpoints within sight, and they're still, continually stopping you all the time. So go ahead while
I
we're having audio. We need to get your
Yeah, you
story.
were saying that you were experiencing a real Pan-African welcome in Burkina Faso.
Yes,
Indeed.
yes, yes, yes. I mean,
Yeah. So okay. So we lost you again.
That is so unfortunate. This feed is coming
Well,
in and
in
out.
between, Shabaka, were you at Bayanara on the 25th?
No, but I wanted to thank all mansions of Rastafari, in particular, Brother Bongo and Brother Trini Levi. They honored my father with a beautiful gift for his years of service. Selena, so that thanks goes to you as well. It's something that the family really, really appreciates coming from the Rastafarian movement. So thank you very much, my sister, and to the rest of the community. And we're gonna keep talking to you until your feed comes back. You know, we're holding you there. We're gonna fill it.
No worries, I'm saying.
Yeah, we are hearing you. We are hearing you. So go on, tell us what's the atmosphere like in Burkina Faso these days.
Oh boy, gone again.
Yeah, we lost you
Hey.
again.
We're gonna need a lip reader. Okay, try. What? Go right away.
Okay. First, I think I should mention that for Trinidadians, we need to get a visa to get into Burkina Faso. It's not like Ghana. Ghana we can enter, but Burkina Faso we need to get a visa to enter into Burkina Faso.
Right.
Did
Quick
you all
question.
hear that?
Are you there in your official capacity to try to meet the president and the government as an ambassador of the Rastafari of the All Mansions of Rastafari of Trinidad and Tobago?
Yes. To take pictures and videos to document what is going on here, you need permission. So my letter goes in tomorrow, please the creator, to get that permission to take pictures and videos and that kind of thing. It's also you have to send in a letter to let them know if you want to meet with Captain Ibrahim Traore, there's a process and protocol. So that starts tomorrow for me. So I have to wait until I get a response from them and then I move forward in whatever. So I'm going to do some.
But if you get to meet Traore, you'd be much more fortunate than Wodemaya. Wodemaya said he spent 18 days waiting to see Traore, and he left without seeing him. And he left without seeing him. He left without being able to see him. So that would be great if you can really get to see him.
Yeah, but
we have lost you.
Our sister Trinidadian. I think she could do it in.
Well, let's hope so.
We're looking forward to seeing the pictures, Selena. We definitely are. And
I have a picture with the Secretary General from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, but I can't show you that picture now. It's on my phone, but I do have a picture with him. That was first step. So it's going good. It's really going good. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Have you been close to the presidential palace, Selena? Have you been close?
Yes.
Okay, I understand that during the night, I don't know if you have noticed, but during the night there are a lot of people on the streets. They sleep on the streets. They're there to protect Ibrahim Traore. Have you seen that? And they do it voluntarily. Have you seen anything like that? Oh, we have lost you again.
We're hearing you now.
The majority.
Yeah, we're hearing
you now. Okay, 99.9% of the population here speaks French. So what we are accustomed to, like even in Ghana, you can go outside and you can get a taxi, you can get a trotro. It's not like that here. The majority of the population, they have mopeds, what we call mopeds. So there is no ready transportation waiting for you at the corner and that kind of thing. So that it has limited me in my movement. But I have heard of what is happening in the nighttime. I passed there a couple times during the day, and you can't even point at the presidential residence. You can't point. So that is how strict it is, that is how strict it is. If you pass in there, you have to keep your hands in your lap. You cannot take pictures, you cannot make videos, but the people here in Burkina Faso, they're very adamant about keeping Captain Ibrahim Traore safe because of all the assassinations attempts that has been made on his life and from the previous leaders that were trying to liberate Africa, they were unalived. So they are saying absolutely not this one, and I've been keeping up on what is happening around. Some of the other states are moving fast where they're saying to the colonizers that no more, you can't take the minerals anymore. Are you all hearing me?
Yes, we're hearing you. Yes, go ahead.
Okay, yes. So there's a lot of development going on with the other countries as well, where they're telling They say, no, no, you can't take our minerals anymore. They're giving the colonizers a short space of time to leave their place. Like Namibia, she said 24 hours, you have to get out. And so all the other countries, they just come in and join in with what and supporting what Captain Ibrahim Traore is saying and doing. So it's you can actually feel the energy. You can feel it. Is I can't really explain it, but it's a physical thing, not just a mental thing happening, but it's also a physical thing. You can feel it in the energies of the people.
Okay, Selena, before we let you go and close this session, could you tell us what is your next move? What is your next plan? Your immediate next plan in Burkina Faso? And just give us your
Um,
final comments.
well, um, I want the information on how best because he's saying free citizenship. So in my letter, I request the protocols and the procedures on what we do to get free citizenship, um, permission to take pictures and videos to document what is happening, and to meet Captain Ibrahim Traore personally. When I get to him, then I would be asking him to consider some certain things. I don't want to say anything about it just yet, but certain things that will allow us to come home as groups, places that where allow us to come in and settle and that kind of thing, where we can
Repatriation
invest,
is a
you
big
know.
part of Rastafarian doctrine and
Yes,
philosophical worldview. So
yes,
certainly, we understand that will be all that will be on the table. But listen, Selena, we're gonna stay in touch with you, and we're gonna be looking for frequent updates from Burkina Faso. We wanna hear what what has been like meeting with the Burkinabes, and perhaps even to see some of this famous indigenous fabric that is now thriving under brother Ibrahim Traore. So thank you, Selena. Thanks for
yes.
being with us tonight, and we want to wish you all the best on this wonderful journey, and not just to you, but to the entire All Mansions community from Trinidad and Tobago and brothers and sisters across the Caribbean. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. See you soon, sister.
All right.
Yes. So, I mean, now we have our own a Trinidadian on the ground, Doc. We
Indeed,
will,
indeed, indeed.
yeah, we're in a good position to, our correspondent is in place. I
Yes,
feel like,
yes. If she sees Traore, that would be amazing, really, because even ministers of states of other governments and so on, he's not meeting directly with them, as far as I understand. He lets his spokesman meet them, his foreign minister, and so on. So I guess that is what may happen. That if they're meeting with her, it might be an indirect meeting, and but that will still be fantastic, if she can get her message through to the government.
yeah, and of course, I gotta say on behalf of Indaba, I mean, I feel like we're BBC now. We have correspondents in Burkina Faso. I think it is fantastic indeed to know that one of our very own is over there and can give us feedback on the ground. Of course, we are going to reach out to some of our some of our own colleagues who live there as well. Perhaps we can have them on together in the future.
Yeah,
But
we can
yeah,
almost say Ndaba has its correspondent in Burkina Faso.
indeed, indeed, indeed. So we
Yes, at
lost
least.
Brother Bongo Greece. It seems he's not going to come back in. So let us move on now to our feature discussion tonight. It's entitled Community-Based and Homegrown Approaches to Addressing Crime in Trinidad and Tobago. And of course, our special guest tonight is Brother Gregory Sloan Steele. And Brother Gregory, I'm gonna start the conversation by asking you about the Minister of Homeland Security, Roger Alexander. Before we get into it, let me find out
Let's introduce him to the audience first, Shabaka. Let's introduce him to the audience.
All right, let's
Um,
introduce. Brother Stone Shield is no stranger to our audience here on Indaba or the
yeah, but we
people.
always have new listeners, so we have to assume we have new people listening all the time.
Yeah, so brother, introduce yourself to this wide
Shabaka,
community.
Fergus, I don't know how you all have me following Selena, boy. I mean, that's reporting from Burkina Faso, and then you throw me in the mix after that, boy. I'm following that act. As you said on BBC, what is that? The Black Broadcasting Corporation. All right. Yeah.
Yes, Indaba is making strides. So welcome, Gregory, and just introduce yourself briefly to our audience.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Gregory Sloan-Seal here. I've been working with youth and doing community outreach since 1989. Started off in Toronto, Canada for 5 years, YMCA for 11 years, the Ministry of National Security, now Homeland Security, for 15 and a half years. And the last 3.5 years, I've actually been working with Shell as the Community Relations Advisor for Trinidad and Tobago and the English and Dutch Caribbean. But I'm here in my capacity to talk about crime and violence prevention at a community level, right?
Yes.
From what I understand, Shabaka.
Yes, in your capacity as a man who was one of the directors of the what was that
Citizen
program?
Security Program.
Citizen Security Program, indeed.
Yes.
So
Yeah, just for clarification, Gregory, we're not specifically talking about community police. We're talking about community-based approaches to crime.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. So we want to make that clear because previous program we would have talked about policing. So we are talking about community-based approaches to
crime and violence reduction. Yes.
Right.
And my background is sociology. So I'm a sociologist.
Great.
And a lot of my experience over the years has been working with at-risk groups, okay, or underserved groups. So in Trinidad, the best approach I can say in working in any human community, okay, is to provide an environment that is conducive to development, mental, emotional, physical development. Okay, so I start there. So in Trinidad, anywhere in this world, but we're talking about Trinidad today, right? Once we have the will, we can make a positive intervention and positive change. People ask me every day, oh God, you think you could fix this place? You think this place? Listen, there are spaces in Trinidad and Tobago today where that we consider high risk, where there are people functioning and doing a lot of good work. One of the key elements of community development, especially in communities that would be considered high risk or underserved, is what we call an asset building approach. And it's basically looking at what the community has in terms of human resources, physical resources, right? And building their capacity to do the work that they do. And I'm talking simply things like you have a football coach, you have a cricket coach, you have some teacher doing extra lessons with some children, you have persons who are in the community doing community building work, but in a very small way. And they have the respect of the community, right? And these are the individuals that we need to seek out and support and help them to continue to develop what they're doing, bring in more people from the community, who are along the same line, bridge the communication gap, because sometimes people feel they're working in isolation, they get frustrated and so forth. But the thing is, my work over the years has taken me throughout. Okay, so I'm from Belmont originally, right? But it has taken me throughout places where people be like, Beetham Gardens, Sealots, Laventille, in Central Enterprise and so forth. And people are like, well, was it like in there? What is it like? It's it's like anywhere else, basically, in terms of human beings, right? Wanting the best for themselves, their children, and their community. Okay, indeed. The only difference is there is that psychological component right? That if you're constantly told you are this, right? It's a sort of self-fulfilling prophecy. And I say that because many years ago, I'm talking about maybe 2 decades ago, and this is something that I would do when I go into communities like that are what they call high risk or underserved or whatever have you. I will ask young people, right, what kind of people live in your community? Who lives in your community, right? And you'd hear things like, well, boy, sir, boy, bandits, drug dealers. I don't know. The negative comes out. And then I would ask, I said,
Yes,
so wait,
yeah.
they have no teachers living in this community? Yes, sir, we have teachers. Yeah, my neighbor's a teacher. You have people who are, civil servants who work in government ministries, no one working in insurance, nobody working in, you have masons, you have welders, you have skilled tradesmen. And then we start that conversation, you realize that, yes, they exist. They're all around you. But mentally, because all we get fed is that negativity, right? It becomes a sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy. This is why I'm saying that those lights, the positive lights in the community, need to be supported so that light could shine brighter and guide people towards more positivity. Okay? And it sounds simple, it sounds cliche, but I have actually experienced it.
No,
Okay?
Gregory, what you're saying is brilliant, and it's the first time it has been articulated on this program. So we want to acknowledge that approach, and certainly, I don't know what success have you had convincing the powers that be in this country under different regimes that they should proceed in that direction.
Well, that program would have started in 2006 under the Manning administration, and we were given pretty much free rein to develop a locally relevant community-based intervention strategy, which we did, right?
And in terms of implementing, though, developing is one thing. There are many.
We implemented hundreds of programs
in a number of communities. Can you name some of those communities?
Cocorite, River Estate, Beetham Gardens, Sealots, Never Dirty in Mova.
Brilliant.
Monrepo in Mova, Enterprise in Chaguanas.
And you felt that you were able to achieve positive results?
No, the thing is, what we have to realize is that when you have crime and violence endemic in a community, it's going to take at least 10 to 15 years, a generation, right, needs to grow up in an environment where that is at a minimum or doesn't even exist. If you understand what I'm saying. Yes. I would say that we were on the road. We were definitely on the road, and it bears out in the actual data, because we were collecting data along the way. Before we started in 2006, we collected some baseline data, and thereafter, you know what, I should have sent you some of the research, so we could have quoted it, or you could have,
well,
quoted
you can send it to us after the show, and we will. I'm sure we'll be able to look at it and
I don't mind coming back or referring you to others who worked alongside me. But Greg, who can also articulate and share experiences, because it's about the experiences. It's not about the theory. I'm not a theoretical person by nature. I'm a practical person. So what I'm speaking of is what has happened, But in saying what I'm saying is that we have had there was tremendous strides in terms of really building community cohesion. Okay, we did not reach a tipping point, unfortunately, but we were on the road. When the PP government came in 2010 to 2015, they actually expanded the program. We went from 22 communities to 34 communities, right? They expanded the program, right? Unfortunately, from 2015 until earlier this year, a month ago, there were challenges in continuing the program, and that's really why I left in 2020.
Gregory, let me touch on something here. We are looking mainly for now external intervention At least that's what I perceive that you're talking about, external intervention within communities and so on. You mentioned the term cliche earlier, and you just mentioned what you were a practical person.
Yeah.
I want to go mix the two of them.
Sure.
And refer to an age-old maxim that we're all familiar with. It takes a village to raise a child. Is this still functional speaking as a sociologist, is this still functional or practical? And how could we, as modern day communities, reimagine this approach to the socialization of not just, children, but communities?
Well, I mean, it exists. Trinidad has communities where are still close-knit, still look out for each other. I would have to say, even the communities I've worked in over the years, the Mon Repos in Mova, the Never Dirties, the Betham, the Enterprise, and so forth. I mean, I tell people, listen, Trinidad would be in a much worse place if we didn't have community vibes still existing. You know what I mean? We have young people who are intelligent, but they feel stifled. They feel stifled. And of course, because of what we see in this materialistic world we're living in, and how people, what can I say about a lot of young people that I've interfaced with over the years, once they are presented with a viable alternative, right, it is something that they would definitely consider. Now it's about the following through with the support. Okay,
yeah,
because people have been disappointed, all right, and I've seen it where young people have gone on, worked hard, gotten their certificates in X, Y, and Z, and then they can't get a job, or they get a job and they are, for a lack of a better word, not treated well, right? So there's a lot of angst and a lot of mistrust with what we would consider the system, right? That's been going on for years. And young people have told me over the years, I talk about decades here in Trinidad and Tobago, that, but so why going to school for? Why working so hard for? My mother works in this place and she working 12 hours a day and we still can't make ends meet, right? My fathers do this and we still can't make ends meet. So why do you know that for? Why going through all that for? You understand? So these are things where we need to, continue to reach out to young people and provide options and opportunities, which there are many. And what I have found with a lot of our young persons who are involved in criminal activity is that they are actually very bright. But when you take intelligence and you mix it with frustration and a feeling of marginalization, then you get what we get in here. You know what I mean? So it's really
but when we know that the problem seems to be more it seems to be worse for boys than for girls. So let's talk about that gender difference for a little while. In terms of that same comment that you made with respect to the frustration that person suffer, they want to give up. But is it really worse with young men than with young women in the community, in the work that you have done? The data that you have, what do the data reflect?
No, well, I mean, if you just look at entrance rates into tertiary education and so forth, you'll recognize that the females are excelling and their numbers are growing, right? So that is there for sure. But also, we still live in a very patriarchal society, which does damage to the male psyche when there are certain attributes that society says they're supposed to have, right? Being the breadwinner, because money is power, power is control. Also, they have certain tenants that say that, males are the head of the house. So how you gonna be the head of the house if you're not making as a head of a house? All these sort of things that psychologically do negatively impact our males, whereas our females are actually continually encouraged to seek academic excellence, and to strive, right? Not that our boys are not, but when you have these social expectations not met, and not met for a couple generations, and not met with the men who you associate with or the males you associate with, then it becomes a little debilitating, if you understand what I'm saying. So it's about providing that space, that environment where these young men can actually start to process some of those negative feelings and thoughts, and really talk about more realistic expectations. You know what I mean? I've had young men over the years, I would pass a KFC, a Subway, help wanted, hiring now. Fellas come to me, boy, so we're looking for a work. I'll say, brother man, come. Right there on Henry Street, have a KFC. They hiring. Huh? KFC? Boy, so is that one, boy? Right? Not recognizing that, brother man. Listen, if you can earn an honest dollar, right? I ain't saying you have to stay in KFC, but if you're working in KFC, right, or working anywhere, then you're visible to a public that is coming in and interfacing with you. Someone might see you and just like your vibes, right? You might meet up somebody and you need to interact, and you need to, the more doors you enter is the more doors that open. You know what I mean? And it's about us connecting the dots for young people, right? And really unlocking some of these established psychological chains that really have us in prison mentally, because Trinidad has opportunity. I mean, how so many, we talk about Burkina Faso and so forth, and I have met over the years so many West Africans from Senegal, from Ghana and stuff, working right here in Trinidad, working. I don't know how they reach, but they're here and they're working. And I say to myself, but wait now, Trinidad. And I ask them, I say, how you reach here? And they tell me, okay, how they get here, right? But their final destination is the US. That's where they want to go. And I ask them, so what do you think about Trinidad? They say, boy, this place mad. They find this place mad because they have so much. They get a job. They have so many opportunities that they see. Yet, where they live around them, they see youths on the street just liming, hustling, and not seeking out opportunities. You know what I mean? And that is where we need to blend the reality with the mental models that have been frozen in our psyche.
I think one of the
what I
things
mean?
I've seen, Gregory, just to touch on the last point that you raised there, myself having interacted a lot with migrants from different countries, is that many of them are better educated than our own young people who find themselves competing for the same jobs. So, you look at an African immigrant who comes in and takes a menial job, but that person already has a degree from a university, or, a proper diploma and all kinds of skills. I've seen it with Cubans, even Venezuelans. We are when we talk about underserved community in Trinidad, I mean, we have really underserved people. They might be bright, but they grow up with a certain degree of illiteracy and without any kind of certification. That's part of the deeper malaise of these communities, and that makes it difficult for them to even compete with some of these African migrants. And some of them African migrants coming in with talent and all kind of thing. They could play the guitar, speak 5 languages.
No, that's a fact. But
being certified.
What I can say is that I've met hundreds of young Trinidadian males who have struggled academically, who have taken opportunities presented to them, and today are doing reasonably well. doing far better than they would have done if they didn't tune into their own potential. And these are guys who are skilled craftsmen now. A few of them are in the police service. A few of them are in the army. I mean, I can tell you a story about a young gentleman who came into the YMCA at age 13, 14, used to be on the streets. I asked him what he wanted to do. He said he wanted to be a soldier. I said, you want to be a soldier? I said, okay. Let's do a 5-year plan, right? Because you're in the YMCA outreach program and we have no direct pathway for you becoming a soldier. Okay? So let's see what you need to do. So I made some calls, try to understand how this young man, he's very gung-ho to be a soldier. So I was told, listen, if he's not in school, have him sign up with one of the secondary school cadet corps, right? He signed up with the Belmont Secondary School cadets. He did not go to Belmont Secondary School. He was still coming to the Y during the day, doing literacy and numeracy and so forth, and going on the evenings whenever they had cadets, he went to cadets. Okay? He was so motivated that he was in the cadets in his uniform and everything, because this is what he wanted to do. He went back to school, got his English, maths, and whatever else he needed, right? And today he's a lance corporal.
Excellent.
Right?
Excellent.
No, that's just
some of them actually do well in business in the entertainment sector. We have a lot of
well, I just given you a concrete one.
We have plenty concrete.
Right.
The thing is, you also know that I think what we have also have to be cognizant and listen, Gregory. I think what you're doing and what you're saying tonight is really important for young people to hear.
Shabaka, what I have said over the years, and I'll reiterate it again, we do not need more police on the ground. We need more social workers and more outreach workers, right? We need people who with the skill and the understanding, right, of how to motivate, okay, young people out there.
That's a good segue for me to ask you the next question, because the new Minister of Homeland Security, upon arriving in office, said that he would be looking to meet with officials in and out of the region to discuss matters of safety. And when it came to out of the region, he mentioned 2 places, El Salvador and New York City.
Negativo. for me. Negative.
Well, I tell you, when Gary Griffith condemns your approach, I think that says it all.
Negative or not. You know what's interesting? So the Citizen Security Program, when it was fully functioning, fully supported by government, it was a real beacon within the region. I traveled from Argentina to Norway at the behest of the IDB, who were funding the program through a loan agreement with the government of Trinidad and Tobago. But they had seen through their various evaluations so much promise in this program that they had me visit various jurisdictions to talk about what we were doing, right? And what we were doing is exactly what I said, right? Not only were we linking and developing the assets within the communities as they existed, but we were offering certified training for persons in revaluation counseling so that they could treat with the abusive situations, the trauma within their own communities.
I have no doubt that if the approach...
No, what I'm saying is that we don't have to go outside.
I know. What I'm saying is I have no doubt that if the approach that you applied was part of a larger approach to underserved communities across the country, we would be well on our way to a better future. Unfortunately, what happens historically is that you have these types of things conducted as kind of singular experiments within an approach to dealing with crime and security that is heading in the opposite direction. You know, I could give you the example of the Emancipation Support Committee many years ago had a program called Intervention for Education, and it would have worked in some of those very same communities you were serving, and it had tremendous results in the primary schools and in the secondary schools. But you know, it did not get the kind of funding after probably about a year of work. It didn't get the funding to continue, and of course, it's not part of the philosophical approach of the powers that be, which tend to feel more comfortable, or it's easier for the powers that be to present a military answer to the people than it is for them to engage in this kind of nuanced conversation about dealing with crime and security. I would say that.
What I can say, you mentioned New York City, and what I do know for a fact is that the cure violence model, which is a model that we localized, okay, in Trinidad and Tobago, where we have violence interrupters that are really high-level, high-risk mediators, right? Mediate conflicts between gangs. I'm talking about directly interfacing with gang leaders, with shooters, these kind of things, to really reduce the level of intended violence, physical violence within the communities. In New York City, right, I am very familiar with the fact that in some high-risk communities, cure violence has been funded by the city over the last 5 or 6 years. And this is something you need to research. Anyone listening on the radio or online or whatever have you, go to cureviolence.org and research it. You'll see Trinidad there because we were once part of that family. But that program also, we piloted it in East Port of Spain, and it had tremendous results. There are reports online through the Inter-American Development Bank, IADB. Just go on the IDB website, look for Citizen Security Program, Cure Violence. There are independent reports on it. And it will show you, right, how violent crime in these areas were reducing over a 2-year period, right? And if we had continued in that vein, instead of cutting back, supporting, we would be in a totally different situation today.
Yeah, well, I wish.
I take back what I said earlier. Instead of El Salvador, for sure is a negativo. New York, they have put a handle on violent crime to an extent, and they would attribute it, the city, New York City, to a lot of the work being done by Cure Violence USA.
Yeah, but it would be nice if the minister was really looking at things like that. But I think that what New York has become famous for in terms of crime fighting is the period when under Rudy Giuliani and Bill Bratton, that period of serious human rights abuses. I remember on one occasion, they had asked Bill Bratton if he could get, a couple people, representatives of the communities that they police, that they over police, the blacks in the police service, and he said, "Boy, we find it we're struggling to recruit them because we've given each person a case." We've given everybody a case in New York, but anything we can find a reason for, and of course, the record of human rights abuses is well documented under those regimes, and they've always been attractive to Caribbean, police services, to Caribbean.
Well, that's coming out of our history, right? You have to know your history to know your present, eh? You understand? So coming out of that whole colonial vibes, that whole plantation vibes and so forth, it's something that's ingrained in us, eh? That type, like policing. Now policing is important. But if we want to deal with crime and violence in our society, medium to long term, in terms of really reweaving the fabric or tightening the fabric of our society, it has to have a very strong social / community intervention approach.
Yeah,
right?
I'm so cut and dry on this one, so black and white on this one, that I often say that the way we even talk about crime is setting the police up, because the police cannot solve these issues.
Correct.
No amount of policing that can solve these issues, and so we will always be saying our police good for nothing when the police are working hard and doing their job. And as
I've
best
worked with very good police officers in Trinidad.
Yeah, we have police
honest,
officers in Trinidad.
hardworking officers.
I've met them. I have one or two friends in the service and so on. But I can tell you straight, those guys are being underserved by the discourse, which says that this is a police problem when it really is a leadership problem. It goes right up to the top. You know, the kind of programs that address our peculiar historical circumstances, the kinds of creative programs that you've already outlined on this program, those are the answers. You know, police, you know, can solve crimes. They can improve and raise the detection rate. They can come in and investigate crimes and find the people who perpetrated them, but they will not stop the crime factory. The crime factory is something that has to be addressed at the leadership level through social intervention. There's something wrong. And put it another way, when you have a high level of crime in a society, it's telling you, it's like a disease on your skin. When it starts to break out, you could just put stuff on top of the area as much as you want, but you got to find out what is causing that breakout on your skin. And it could be your kidneys. It could be you're not drinking enough water. It could be you don't have the right amount of vitamins. You're eating the wrong things. You're allergic to something. And so we keep putting ointment on top of the thing rather than looking to address the real roots, the issue at its roots. And unfortunately, until that is done, I agree with you, Gregory, 100%. We're not going to move forward as a society.
And you know, when you look at a thing like our prison system, and we have a who I would consider a progressive commissioner at this juncture, because I've interfaced with him over the years, Carlos Carraspi, right? And I know he's into the psycho-emotional health of you know, persons who are incarcerated and so forth. But here we have a literally and figuratively a captive audience, right? What are we doing within these walls, right? And things are happening, but are we doing enough to really work on the trauma that these persons have experienced in their lives, both as victims and as perpetrators? Because perpetrators suffer from trauma too. Don't feel that is just hardened, you know, people out there. I have also worked with many perpetrators over the years who have successfully reintegrated into society to become
Great
positive
citizens, yes.
Positive, contributing citizens. You know what I mean? So it's all about, we have to look at each person as an individual human being who has needs that we need to explore and you know, support.
So Greg,
right?
let me ask you a question. Have you ever applied this thinking in our own local historical context? Have you ever thought about applying this approach, you know, but looking at it within the wider context of our own peculiar history?
In terms of slavery, indentureship,
well,
like
slavery,
what? Colonialism?
Yes, I think we need to use the word colonialism, because slavery and indentureship are just two features of colonialism, along with genocide and apartheid. You know, I think we have to look at it holistically. Right up until 1962, we were, you know, a colonized people. And we have to really understand the features of that particular, you know, system, to understand the legacies of that system that we're dealing with, and to specifically to create programs that address that legacy specifically.
Well, you know, there are a couple of things that I discuss with people, and it always raises that kind of thing. But as you say that, in 1962, when we became independent, you know, it was said that the future is in the school bag. But I mean, you can't eat books, right? And there's only so much intellectual capacity could bring to us, because, you know, we have hands, we have other mechanisms to build a future, to create a future, and to sustain a future, if you understand what I'm saying, right? So that is one area there where to me, you know, we went in one direction and made other things outside of academia appear to be somehow substandard, right?
Irrelevant.
We did also something where, okay, Master Day is done, right? And we want to now replace the railway, which was a legacy of colonialism, but that is something we should have kept. You know what I mean? It would have been extremely useful today.
Valuable,
So even in us breaking away, we stayed there. You know what I mean? And it's these things we have to analyze, like, you know, what we do, right? Who benefits from it? And as the native, the Native Americans would say, when they make a decision today, they're thinking about the 7th generation to come, right?
And the thing about
these are things
generation
that
implies a certain kind of love for the people that you live with. And sometimes
and the environment
politicians and so on, I wonder if there is a genuine feeling of connection with the rest of the society, a genuine concern for the future of the people of this country, for the human capital.
Politics has its own hungry mouths to feed, if you understand what I'm saying. I've interfaced with many and well-intentioned, but always with a best buy date in mind.
Mm-hmm.
If you understand what I'm saying?
Before, like the system.
Yeah, the 5 year, the 5 year cycle. Yeah. You know, we had a rush. It's like, hey, take your time.
People. Yes,
take your time. We're not. What we need to build and what we need to create is not going to happen in a year or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. As I said, 10 to 15 years. Right? We need to stay at it. It needs to be. If you have an infection, as you were alluding to, Shabaka, right? And the doctor gives you a 1 week amoxil prescription. They tell you take it to the end. Even when the rash goes, continue taking it because you want to make sure that it's cleared out, right? Don't stop taking it after 2 days when the rash goes because it'll come back because you haven't sufficiently dealt with what you have to deal with. So it's the same with trauma. It's the same with cycles of violence and so forth. And earlier on, I don't like to use the word revolution because here what? Years ago, I was having a discussion and I've read up a lot on revolutionaries, right? Thomas Sankara, Che Guevara, all of them. I've read up. It's really something that interested me. And what I realized is that a revolution is a circle, is a cycle, right? What we want and what Brother Chorori is doing is evolution because he's not going around in circles. He's moving ahead. He's evolving his country. You understand? So it's evolution, not revolution.
We're running out of time here.
Sorry.
Let me come back in now. Shabaka, let me come back in because I think we need to have a more positive end to the program. We want to give people some hope that this problem could be resolved or minimized. So I think we need to perhaps point out what are the values that might come into play here to perhaps give young people a greater sense of their own humanity, their own, worth within a society that they can contribute to not only to themselves, but also to the upliftment of the society. Because if you cannot see yourself, as part of an island and just you are a unit, I think you have a problem of existence. So if you can tell us perhaps how we can inject some positivity into the discussion. Do you have data on dropouts? I believe it has a lot to do with the economic opportunities and education. And of course, the home socialization, because values are very important. Because there must be something driving young people to choose crime as an option, violent crime as an option, and not just poverty. I have seen, I can tell you this very briefly. I was in Ghana once, many years ago. you see the poorest of the poor people, and I saw a man's wallet drop. The person could have picked it up and just turned around. They picked it up, tapped the person on the shoulder, you dropped your wallet. You know? Now, poverty, at that time, I convinced myself poverty is not the reason for crime. Because some of the wealthiest people in the world, they keep committing crimes all the time. So we are saying that this is about violence, violent crime. What gives people that, option, that drive, that this violence is the option for survival, Because across the Caribbean, Gregory, this is not a Trinidad problem.
Yes.
Across the Eastern Caribbean, at least that I know about, the violent crime is extremely high and rising. So something is happening to our society.
Right.
So can we give some hope that there could be, through your methodology, some solution to young people adopting violence and violent crime as an option for survival? We need to do something about it.
What I know on a practical level, and you'll recognize I didn't mention anything about poverty. I said underserved, right? And high risk. Okay? Poverty is not an indicator for violence and crime. It is not an indicator. And you're very correct in what you said. And that happens right here in Trinidad too, where there are people who are economically, under pressure, but they continue to do what they need to do legally, if it is a susu, if it is an extra hustle here and there to make ends meet. So it's not that. What I mentioned was the frustration, the alienation, and the marginalization. If you belong to a community, that's where belonging is something that our young people are looking for. That's why gangs thrive, okay? Because they don't feel that sense of belonging in the wider society. So they find each other and they form these subgroups, okay? That's just a sociological norm, all right? Now, not all gangs are necessarily violent, right? No criminal per se, okay? But what I want to say, very practical, and I tell this to people all the time. When I worked in the YMCA, many people come to the Y. They want to volunteer. They read about the program. They hear about the program. They want to, and I would ask them, I say, before you volunteer, do you have children? Yes, I do. Well, you should be with them, right? Right? If you're going to volunteer, okay, we want volunteers who can give up their time and their energy, right here and right now. So what I tell people is that you want something practical and positive, here what to do. Listeners, you have your children, please take care of your children, get to know your children's friends, right? And whoever you can assist, whoever you can impart some knowledge and some positive energy to, please continue to do that. Be a positive influence, okay? Open your house to your children's friends, good, bad, or indifferent, all right? Because that is the only way we can have an impact on them, is if they are around us. And if you are kind and you are an open-minded person, right? Young people gravitate towards that. It's judgment we don't like. Adults don't like it, doubly for adolescents, because they already feel marginalized and they're looking for themselves. They're searching, right? Yeah. So if you don't have children, you're an aunt, you're an uncle, you have a nephew going astray, a niece going astray, go and talk to them. Go and vibe to them. Find out what's he seeing. What's the underlying issue? What is the underlying issue? Because people just don't act out for acting out sake.
Gregory,
right?
you have been a positive. I want to thank you. As we're coming on to the end of the program now, I want to thank you because you have always been a positive influence all around you. You know, I mean, there's, across the board.
I try my best, Shabaka. Trust
me. We thank you for that. But I want to, before we go, tell us though, I mean, are you optimistic right now?
Very. Listen, boy, every day, a day don't pass in Trinidad when I don't see positive vibes, and feel the positive energy, And I'm telling you, our friends and family abroad, frightened to come back home. I tell them come back. When they come for a little holiday and thing, take them around. They're like, wow, so everything I read in then, where's that about? I said, no, we have problems. We have problems. But
That's right.
the average people is 1.5 million people. How many you think really running that route and creating that havoc, right? So we need to just know that we're not alone. We need to help one another, right? And don't look down the street. Look next door. If you understand what I'm saying, where you could spend more time. Look at home. What you doing at home? You want to come and volunteer outside. You want to go and do work outside. What you doing in your home? Does your home need you? If your home needs you, be there. If you have extra time, extra energy, then go outside, right? Because sometimes people look at it and it seems so overwhelming, right? So what I say is, do not. You can't take on the whole thing. Never, right? Bite what you could chew.
Right,
And
and
chew it
you
well so you could swallow. You understand?
Indeed. Do the best you can whenever you can, how you can in your area.
Correct.
Thank you, Brother Gregory. Thanks for joining us tonight, Indaba, and for bringing
always.
Before Gregory goes, check and see if anybody had any question for him now.
No, I've been checking.
Okay.
Yeah, indeed. But certainly, there are people sending their positive regard, Gregory, for your
Listen,
your
Trinidad, our people.
It looks like we've lost Gregory, but Gregory, if you're still there and you can hear me,
and it's really, when we go up, they always experience, right? Is that love, that openness, and that sort of thing. We need to continue to do that, and yes, there is a lot of positives and a lot of hope, definitely, in Trinidad and Tobago.
And also, congratulations to your wife. I understand she has a new art exhibition and is doing great.
Yeah. She's in Toronto right now, actually. She's in Toronto right now. It's opening in Toronto. It's opening in Toronto on the 11th.
Okay, so let's let the diaspora know. It's something to look forward to. All right.
Nice.
Thank you, Gregory. All the best.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, good night. And to our listeners, join us again next week, Wednesday, for another edition of Indaba. Same time, same place. The place where knowledge grows will be here. Good night, Doctor.
Yes, good night, my brother.